Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Linda Anderson, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Chris Dennison. Today marks the 110th anniversary of the 15th Battalion's operation to the north of the village of Pozières on the Somme. This began a series of attacks in the direction of Mouquet farm, a house and farm buildings that had been captured by the Germans and heavily fortified with machine guns and numerous tunnels. The 2nd, 4th and 1st Australian Divisions repeatedly attacked in the direction of Mouquet farm throughout August 1916, making minor gains for very heavy casualties. When the Australians were withdrawn from the Somme in early September, more than one Australian soldier had stood in the ruins of Mouquet farm, but it remained in German hands. Mouquet farm was not captured and held until the 26th of September 1916, when a party of the 6th East Yorkshire Pioneers secured it in the wake of another British attack. The 6 weeks of the Australians of 1st Anzac Corps spent on the battlefields of Pozières and Mouquet farm cost them 24,000 casualties, including 6,731 dead. Charles Bean later said Australians fell more thickly on this ridge than on any other battlefield of the war. 2026 marks 125 years of dedicated service by the Australian Army and its predecessors. Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Percival Arthur Maunder. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Visitors who are able to do so, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, flowers of the forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be placed at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Percival Arthur Maunder. Known to his family as Percy, he was born in Wollonga, South Australia on the 9th of April 1881, the youngest son of Theophilus George Maunder and Mary Ann Besson. The family moved to Inner Adelaide, suburb of Eastwood, where Maunder attended the nearby Parkside Primary School. By the time the First World War began, Maunder had moved to Western Australia and he was working as a miner near Mouquet. Maunder returned to Adelaide to join the Australian Imperial Force in late June 1915 and was allotted to the 9th Reinforcements to the 12th Infantry Battalion. On the 14th of September, he embarked aboard the transport ship Ballarat, sailing from Outer Harbour, Adelaide, bound for Egypt. When he arrived, he reattested, and he was given a new regimental number. Maunder was sent forward to Lemnos at the start of December and joined the 12th Battalion at Sarpe Camp. The battalion had just withdrawn from Gallipoli as the campaign drew to a close. The battalion returned to Egypt in January 1916, and when the AIF began expanding in February, Maunder transferred to the newly raised 52nd Battalion. The 52nd transferred to France in June and was sent to the so-called nursery sector in the north, where it entered the front line near Pétion. In July, the battalion moved south to the Somme, and in the following month, it played a supporting role during the 4th Division's attack on Mouquet Farm. 52nd Battalion went into action for the first time in the early hours of the 4th of September. The battalion had entered the front line near Mouquet Farm 2 days earlier and had spent the time preparing for the assault. When the attack began, Maunder, a member of the scouting platoon, was on a carrying party taking bombs up with the advancing troops. At the height of the advance, members of Maunder's platoon held one end of a trench and the Germans held the other. During the intense fighting, Maunder and another member of the platoon accidentally crossed a barricade onto the German side of the trench. The other man with Maunder made it back, although he was mortally wounded, and died shortly after. But Maunder was never seen again. 6 weeks later, his identity disc was brought in by a chaplain who had been out with a burial party, but the location of Maunder's resting place was never found. Private Percival Maunder was 35 years old. An older brother, Private Charles Maunder, was captured at Bullecourt, where he served with the 48th Battalion. He spent the remainder of the war as a prisoner of the Germans, but returned home in 1919. Today, Percy Maunder's name is commemorated on the Villers-Bretonneux Memorial among more than 10,000 Australians who died in France during the First World War and who have no known grave. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Percival Arthur Maunder, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.